You ever had that moment in life where you say something and it's almost as if you want to grab the words and pull them back as if they didn't happen? Well, President Zelensky has many moments like that. The most recent could spell disaster. Doomsday planes fly. Trump says it's up to Russia now. What did Zelensky just do? What did he state? And what was Russia's reaction? We'll spell out this entire story for you in just 1 minute. And as to be expected, we have a ton of news to cover before we get to the headline story. Some emotional moments too. Tom Homan, I don't know if you saw the Iceman. Well, he melted a little bit. And not in a bad way. His message was amazing. Judge Tanya Chutkin, once again involved in the storyline, has ordered the doxing of Doge employees. They are doing everything they can to assure that what they view is a threat is shut down. The threat of exposing wasteful spending. It's ludicrous. Insane, as Nick's order states. The leftists are trying to terrify Doge and its employees into submission. Do not relent. The American people have your back, and we do. This needs to happen, but the judges keep stepping in the way, don't they? Judge Howell has blocked the Trump administration from enforcing Trump's executive orders seeking to block Perkins Coie. Oh, of course they did. Doing something on Restricted next week. My audience there will see it. An entire expose on how Ukraine has remained center focus from the very start to the very finish of the Russia discussions, of which Perkins Coie was central in their involvement, and a very good reason why Trump blocked their security clearance, and unacceptable that a judge steps in once again to block the Trump administration. U.S. judge says Trump cannot fire Democratic member of Federal Labor Board. I guess you just can't fire anybody. Because if these judges had their way, everyone would stay, the spending would continue, and basically the Biden administration would continue under the Trump administration. That's what they're looking for. That's what they're hoping for. That's what they're praying for, but they're not going to get it. At least I hope. But that doesn't mean they're going to stop the onslaught. But who would propagate their stories? Who would continue to make sure they're front and center headlines, although nobody's listening to these sources anymore? Including now the New York Times, who's going through major changes, announcing that their editorial board writers should accept a new position or take a buyout. Wow. Well, that's a big move, isn't it? I wonder what happened. Editorial board's not doing so well now, is it? New York Post posting on that, some of which are Jess Wegman, Paul Krugman. We're going to come back to her in just one moment. And Brett Staples. Find another position or step down. So the New York Times reshuffling its opinion section. I guess those opinions aren't resonating with those viewers anymore. Of course, it's not resonating anywhere. They're all making changes because the gig is up. We've learned about you. We learn who you are. We learn what you represent. And Marigay is one of the quintessential examples. Let me remind you of this clip that should have you in tears when you listen to basic math.
You see it as a possibility if he wants to spend $1 billion beating this guy, he could do it.
Absolutely. Somebody tweeted recently that actually with the money he spent, he could have given every American $1 million.
I've got it. Let's put it up on the screen. When I read it tonight on social media, it kind of all became clear. Bloomberg spent $500 million on ads, U.S. population 327 million. Don't tell us if you're ahead of us on the math. He could have given each American $1 million.
Yes. Yeah, she quoted that tweet. If he had $500 million in ads, he could have given the entire U.S. population $1 million apiece, the U.S. population being 327 million. No, he could have given 500 people $1 million. Sorry, I hope that math doesn't escape you, but that's the caliber of those editorialists who are now being asked to be reshuffled, and we wonder why. Let's just put it in plain and simple facts here. Hard for the left to take sometimes. Kash Patel making a major announcement. Remember what I said, nothing matters until there's lawsuits, trials, and handcuffs, right? Today, following efforts with our interagency partners, I can report that a career director-level employee at U.S. Customs and Border Protection has been charged with allegedly attempting to defraud FEMA, as well as lying to federal agents. This is part of the new FBI's renewed effort to crack down on public corruption and deliver accountability for the American people. Justice will be done. Who is he referring to? Serena Baker Hill. How do we know that? Because it's in the United States Attorney's Office memo out of the Eastern District of Michigan. Director of Customs and Border Protection charged with scheme to fraudulently obtain disaster aid and lying to federal agents, innocent until proven guilty. But of course, here is the charge. Serena Baker Hill, a career employee at CBP, following a series of floods in Detroit area in August of 2023, said her basement was flooded and she could not live in the house anymore and needed FEMA assistance so she could live elsewhere because of the flood damage. During the inspection, Baker Hill informed the inspector she cannot live safely in the home while these repairs are being made. Consequently, FEMA approved benefits for her. Of course they did. To assist with home repairs and because she didn't have a Trump flag up on her lawn. Interesting. And for 2 months of rental assistance. She got that money. According to Baker Hill's bank records, none of FEMA money was used for rental, hotel, or utility expenses. Video surveillance at the home showed that Baker Hill and her husband continued to live in the home after receiving the rental assistance funds from FEMA. Additionally, records for the home do not show a significant drop in utilities consistent with property being unoccupied during this time. And so, what does that claim? That there is now alleged attempting to defraud FEMA. We need to see a multitude at that, don't we? Boy, the left. They say one thing, they do another. But don't worry, they're going to be saved now by Rahm Emanuel. Don't let any good crisis go to waste. That's right. He is gearing up to run for president. There'll be much more news on this. I just wanted to make sure I kept you apprised of what was happening on the Democrat Party. Rahm Emanuel. I can tell you the reasons, because they say he's well-spoken and he's direct and blunt and to the point, and he'll save the party. Good luck with that. Because Trump is actually working still. His EPA, Lee Zeldin to be more specific, announcing 31 historic actions to power the great American comeback and the greatest day of deregulation in American history. Our actions will unleash energy dominance. This is the biggest move in American history, according to Lee Zeldin. I won't play the entire clip. We'll watch these as they are rolled back, because right now I hear a lot of words and I want to make sure there's still actions behind them. I mean, I'm still waiting on the Epstein information. Haven't quite received that yet. Waiting for revisions to FISA. I haven't quite seen that yet. There's many things we're waiting for. And I told you on this channel, if your words are backed up by actions, I'll give you praise. If your words are not backed up by actions, I'll call you out. I don't care what administration's in office. We are a cheerleader for no politician. But now we got to move on to the disaster. The disaster that has ensued overnight, and I'm going to cover it all for you. Before I do, couple special call out. Technocracy to this Russia from beginning to end, and how it all encircles Ukraine and why this story is so critical. On top of a multitude of information from Lisa, and on top of a bonus video I'm putting up on YouTube next week. Because so many of you asked about China's Belt and Road Initiative. And why, as I've told you, much of what Trump is doing surrounds that initiative and stopping it. And it is critical that he stops it. It is the silent maneuvers he's making. He's being very cautious. And you need to tune into that video. I'll put it up as a premiere, so I hope you'll click on it so you get notified when the video goes up next week. Also, while you're doing that, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. If you're new here, I'd love you to subscribe. Those who have continued to join as members on this platform, thank you so much. That means the world to me. It keeps these lights and cameras rolling. Those of you who provided super thanks over the last several months, I appreciate that. I take it and I put it right back into this news. Every day, I invest back into our community. And as an example of that is Restricted Republic. That is an investment from Lisa and I. There is no backers. There is no sponsors. Nobody but our hard-earned dollars. During a very difficult time, mind you, when COVID was at its peak. But that platform's grown. There's no commercials at restrictedrepublic.com. There's no interruptions. There's no backers. We are bound to one person only. You, our audience. And our audience-funded news the way you meant to hear it. You were always meant to hear it with all the references provided below. And sometimes I'll have upwards of 30 or 40 because I want you to dig in like we do. I need you there today. If you haven't gone to restrictedrepublic.com, please join us there today. Monthly or annual subscription. Greatest part is you can go to your dashboard and cancel anytime. We don't hold anyone hostage. We make sure our news is the reason you stay there. Every video we publish, no matter what platform it's on, is put on Restricted Republic on top of the exclusive content. And next week, there is some major informative videos coming out. 1 hour and 13 minutes in length, because that's how in-depth we go there to provide you the news and information you need to determine and interpret what's going on today. I hope you'll get there today. But now let's get back to this broadcast. So what happened in these peace talks, right? Ukraine agrees to a 30-day ceasefire until Zelensky opens his mouth. Putin orders army to eject last Ukrainian troops from Russian territory. Russia is making progress. There would be no more appropriate time to attempt a ceasefire now, would there be? But will Russia accept that ceasefire? Of course, left-leaning media comes out. Putin launches drone strike at Kyiv hours after Trump challenged him to tango and agrees Ukraine ceasefire as pressure mounts on Kremlin to back down. Well, why did they do that? Could it potentially have been in retaliation for Ukraine launching their massive drone strike on Moscow just before the peace talks? Because Putin has not agreed to a ceasefire as of yet. This is still in negotiation. Will Putin try to wrap up his territories before he enters into those discussions? We don't know yet. But what you don't want to do, if you're Zelensky right now, who's losing grounds, whose troops are retreating, is saber rattle anymore. Let Trump try to figure this out, because he's really the only one who can with Putin. There's nobody else who can right now. Will Putin accept ceasefire with Ukraine? Why? He may seek his own conditions. Of course he's going to seek his own conditions. You think he's just going to hand you everything you want? He's tried this time and time and time again, and it's always been shut down on him. So he's going to be very cautious when entering this with Trump. Ukraine ceasefire. What are Putin and Zelensky's demands for agreeing to a 30-day truce? Well, we don't fully know what Russia's demands are yet. But what did Trump state? It's up to Russia now, as his administration presses Moscow to agree to a ceasefire. But there's other news happening at the same time we got to be concerned about. Russia says it's retaken Kursk's biggest town, as Putin advisor says truce would help Ukraine. Some could read that as that's a good thing. It's actually not. Because what he's stating is the only one a ceasefire benefits is Ukraine and the West, because we're making progress now. They're unable to defend and stop us anymore. So is that ceasefire a good idea for us? This is very tricky global maneuvering happening right now, and how it will end, we cannot be certain. But we can be certain that one man doesn't seem to have any interest in stopping it. I'll read this for you rather than play it out loud, so I'm going to silence it. As for the red lines, Zelensky states, I, as president, and the Ukrainians as citizens of their country, will not violate their constitution and will protect our sovereignty and independence. Protecting, what does he mean by that? Our people and our land. It's not easy for us to fight against such an enemy. This is understandable. But today, we are fighting for our independence. Therefore, we will not recognize any occupied territories by the Russian Federation. This is a fact. Our people fought for it. Our heroes died for it. How many wounded? How many has passed? That's why no one will forget about it. And when I say that no one will forget about it, this is the most important red line. Okay. Yep. Pretty much just threw peace talks in the garbage because you know that Russia is trying to create a buffer zone. You know that Russia wants those territories that they have taken recognized. He said it in prior peace talks. He said it multiple times. So by you thumbing your nose at that, you've pretty much all but guaranteed the ceasefire or any truce deal will not happen. That was from President Zelensky. And again, what cards does he have to play? And on top of that, making matters worse in his own country, reporter coming out now, Ukrainian news channel, accuses Zelensky of jailing and killing opponents, opposition. An accusation, of course. As a matter of fact, they give a list of names of political prisoners and journalists that are incarcerated by Zelensky, calling him a dictator. This isn't good news for Zelensky. Matters only continue to get worse. Of course, to make matters a little bit more unusual, U.S. nuclear Doomsday plane seen flying over the Midwest in 7-hour flight. Pre-planned, pre-scheduled, it is somewhat routine that these take off, allegedly being able to survive an attack. Of course, it just adds a little bit of layers to this entire story now, doesn't it? What do you think will happen now? Do you think there'll ever be a truce, a ceasefire? And if so, what conditions do you believe it will be under? I can't wait to see your feedback on this one. But coming back home now for a second, a story that was very important to us seems to have made a little bit of progress. Released on March 7, 2025, Honorable Jim Jordan had requested some information from the FBI, in particular, information concerning the J-6 pipe bomber. And now, Kash Patel finally releasing some information. Still not the information we're waiting for, Kash. FBI hands over January 6 pipe bomb documents to House Republicans, but he does say there'll be more released soon. Limited redactions, allegedly. Can't wait to see what's done here. Of course, if it was truly progress, we would see some suspects being brought in, but we're not. I'm going to be highly critical of these storylines because until these are brought to full light and justice is served, then I'm going to still question the effectiveness of all this. But at least right now, it's not hypocrisy, right? Because there's nothing that drives me more crazy than hypocrisy. Because if you think about the UN and their climate agenda, you know their fundamental belief that they have to stop climate change. It is one of their paramount principles, correct? So then why, I ask you, do they rip right through the heart of a rainforest, demolishing it? Oh no, this is for them. Trust me. UN Climate Change Conference, November of 2025. Well, to get to the conference, they needed to build a road because there was no other buildings available to them that already had roads built. No, they chose rather to rip right through the Amazon rainforest for their conference on preserving the climate. Insanity? A new four-lane highway cutting through tens of thousands of acres of protected Amazon rainforest is being built for the COP30 Climate Summit. So let me get this straight, Steve Guest states. The climate cult is literally paving paradise, destroying nature, all to build a highway so people can go to a climate change conference. Rules for thee, but not for me. Another quintessential example. But we're not done yet, of course, right? Because the other lunacy of everything going on, Schumer, Republicans do not have the votes in Senate to invoke cloture on the House continuing resolution to keep government rolling. So it's now rumored that he will be able to shut it down. Schumer. They're going to shut down government. Of course, they'd like to, right? It would make the Republicans seem inept and incapable. And so now does this have to go back to the House, or is he bluffing? Of course, we're taking advice from a man who puts cheese on a raw hamburger to illustrate that he's a grill master. Sorry, folks. You can't take news too seriously all the time, or else it becomes a little bit monotonous and boring, right? But that is the photo there. Grill Master Schumer. Cheese on a raw hamburger. Can't wait to see how that turns out for him. So let's get this right again. Dems will protest Musk firing half the government by shutting down all of government. The truth is in the facts, right? Of course, the Democrats always have a few issues, don't they? Because nothing should be more central than finding out if cartels are smuggling drugs through tunnels into the U.S., right? It should be I don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican, you'd probably want to know about that and require reports so at least you're informed. Well, all Democrats and all Republicans but one, Rashida Tlaib, cast lone vote against bill requiring reports on cartel smuggling tunnels under the border. Now, why? Why? just asking a simple question. What harm could that have done to anyone? It begs bigger questions, doesn't it? I wasn't going to let that go. There was no way in heck I was going to let that go. But there's a lot you can't let go, right? The atrocities happening in Syria right now. Now reports coming out, 75,000 Christians gone. So what should you do with the leader of that nation, right? Now being called by many the great pretender. He wears a suit, but he's not a suit guy. And his actions are proving it. Now, you can't just look like a leader. You have to act like a leader. And destroying 75,000 alleged lives is not the leader we want in charge of Syria, right? But what do? There's a big donors summit in Brussels. So if these atrocities, because of these atrocities being committed, the last thing you'd probably want to do is invite him to a donor summit, right? No, of course, they did. Syria's foreign minister, Assad al-Shabini, is set to attend a donor summit for the country in Brussels on March 17th. The official said that Syria's interim president was not expected to be at the donor meeting, but the fact that the government will be represented and that Jolani was directly invited, despite still being deemed by the U.S. and many Western governments terrorists, committing these atrocities, slaughtering innocent civilians, is a deep irony and absurd outrage. You see why I don't ever subscribe to any globalist principles. There is not only irony, this is disgusting, sick, and disturbed that anyone would even consider for a moment inviting this man anywhere but to a donor summit. This is our reality we live in right now. It is distorted, isn't it? But everything's distorted. I hope you heard this clip here. Today I confronted Border Czar Tom Homan, but the Iceman himself, oh, wait till you see his reaction.
How many more New Yorkers will you detain? How many more New Yorkers without charge? Do you believe in the First Amendment?
One of many protesters, but Tom Homan, man, in classic rare form. Watch what he's doing as these protesters are shouting at him. Oh, that's right. That's right. He's eating his apple, smirk on his face. But don't think for a minute this isn't hitting him heavy. This is the state he believes in, New York itself. His progress has nearly eclipsed, read here, Trump's first 50 days in office from January 20th to March 10th. The Trump administration, ICE, has made 32,809 arrests of illegal aliens in the interior of the United States. This almost matches all of Biden's ICE interior arrest in fiscal year 2024. So Homan, although he is not happy with this progress, is making progress. Of the roughly 33,000 ICE arrests under Trump so far, 14,111 are convicted criminals. 9,980 have pending charges. 8,000 have immigration violations. But they're expecting him, of course, to be perfect and not make any errors throughout that entire process and not find one person that could be an incendiary arrest. And that, my friends, out of 33,000 is frankly not possible. Since when do you hold people to 100% perfection standard? Is that realistic? What say you? But out of respect to Tom Homan, I'm going to play this clip after I give my conclusion. We have a disaster right now in Ukraine. Zelensky continues to make it worse. The UK and Starmer and Macron continue to add and fuel those flames. There's obviously a reason for that. They state that Russia is going to go, and if we allow them to take those areas in Ukraine, they'll continue to push into the UK and Europe as a whole. Europe as a whole. I'm very curious if you believe that. A simple question. If there is a ceasefire, if there is a truce, that Trump is the only one who can negotiate, do you believe that Russia will continue attacking additional countries into Europe? Yes or no? And you're welcome to give a reason. I hope to see some because I'd love to respond. I just can't wait to see the response. I like to keep this channel interactive, and your feedback really drives it, and it's why it's growing exponentially right now. So thank you for that. My belief is no. Trump wouldn't allow for that. Now, if a new administration comes in, we would have a whole different game on our hands. But under Trump, do you think he's going to allow Putin to just go and start expanding his sphere of influence? No, the one we have to worry about is what I'm going to cover for you next week. It's China. It's always been China. It always will be China. It's the one we have to be concerned about. But Russia and China are friends. No, Russia is on many times, even when they attempted to join NATO at one point in time, keep their enemies very close, an eye on their enemy. Of course, they were rejected from NATO, some saying that's why he's so upset today. And that's fine. It's a good argument. But China is the one who has the proverbial noose around the great republic of the United States of America, and they've done it country by country. And they've done it strategically. And Trump, through his Panama Canal move, his Canada move, his Mexico move, his Greenland move, is all focused on one enemy. And that enemy is China. I want you to tune in. I'm going to put it up as a premiere. Make sure you get there. It's going to be a very important video to understand all the dynamics that are occurring right now. I'm going to let Tom Homan finish as he gets emotional over his takedown of Kathy Hochul, rightfully so you understand how this man's mind works. And I love you all. Can't thank you enough for being here. Until next time, Godspeed and God bless. Justus Knight, signing out.
Your governor who stayed on national TV after NYPD were assaulted by illegal alien gang members. You had a woman burned alive by illegal alien subway. Your governor stands on national TV. I think criminal aliens should be deported. What's one of the first things she do? She goes down to New York City and tries to fire the mayor who wants to help me find public safety threats. Let me give a shout at Mayor Adams. Like him or love him, I called him up for 2 years by not doing enough. As a career cop, he wasn't doing enough. But when I sat down with him back in November, he came to the table. He wanted to help on significant public safety threats. He don't want to be an immigration officer. I don't want to be an immigration officer. But the mere fact he wants to get us into Rikers Island, where people are locked up because they committed a crime, he wanted to get federal immigration authorities back into Rikers Island to talk to illegal aliens who committed a crime against a citizen. And the governor runs down there and wants to fire him because he's working with Tom Homan? And as far as all this, well, he's making a deal because of his criminal issues, I've been talking to him since November. Had nothing to do with that, as far as I'm concerned. I'm happy that the mayor of New York City, the largest city in the world, is actually sitting down with law enforcement to make that city safer. He wants to be a law and order mayor. Then your mayor, who says criminal aliens should be deported, goes down there and wants them out of office. Then and at the same time she says it, she got a green light law, which prevents ICE, and CBP, who again are focusing on national security threats and public safety threats, you can't access the DMV data? Then I see the Chief of Staff say the other day, the Board of Reserves should know they can get that with a warrant. Really? The ATF need a warrant? FBI need a warrant? DA need a warrant? U.S. Marshals need a warrant? This is an attack on immigration enforcement. That's plain what it is.